Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Perennia's Quality and Food Safety Ask Us Anything. Here's where you're going to have the opportunity to ask us anything about quality and food safety program maintenance. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm Cheryl Andrews, a quality and food safety specialist with Perennia, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I'd like to let you know that today's Ask Us Anything is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel in the coming days if you'd like to rewatch it, or if anyone who may have missed it, they'll be able to find it there. All participants will have their audio and video turned off during the session. However, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the Q&A or the chat features at the bottom of your screen there, and we will answer questions throughout the session. So please feel free to ask them at any time. And last but not least, check that you have your preferred Zoom view selected. So you can choose gallery view or speaker view. We do recommend that you're choosing the gallery view, and this will be to avoid the screen from jumping around between cameras as the speakers change. So if you can switch it to gallery view, that's your best bet. Here at Perennia, we have a diverse team with a wide variety of specialized skills to support growth, transformation, and economic development in Nova Scotia's agriculture, seafood, and food and beverage sectors. Shelley McDonald is one of today's speakers, and she is co-manager of our quality and food safety team. Shelley shares her passion of educating clients and knowledge transfer through developing and facilitating quality and food safety trainings. And she also assists clients with navigating food safety regulatory requirements, as well as food safety requirements for third-party certifications. Elaine Grant is with us, and she is also one of today's speakers, and she is co-manager of our quality and food safety team as well. Elaine coaches clients in developing and implementing customized food safety and quality programs and helps identify efficiencies through their programs and processes. Elaine always creates a plan that's practical, approachable, easily maintained, and managed throughout the growth of her clients' operations. Now I'm going to turn it over to Shelley to explain to us the importance of maintaining our quality and food safety programs, and to tell us a bit about what's involved with quality and food safety program maintenance to help us unveil a process that isn't overwhelming or scary.
Thanks, Cheryl. Welcome, everybody. So we're just going to quickly get into like a little intro. What is the purpose of maintaining your quality and food safety management system? So the purpose of maintaining your food safety program is basically to ensure you are doing what you say you're doing. So for those of you who have been around in the food industry for quite some time, you know the three little rule we say what you do what you say, improve it. So by maintaining your program, you are ensuring that you are actually doing what you say you are doing on an ongoing basis. So to maintain your program, it means that you're confirming that your system and your process is functioning on an ongoing basis. And that means for you that you're going to be producing safe, quality, consistent products while preventing contamination. So program maintenance is not only ensuring that you're saying what you're doing, or you're doing what you say you're doing, but it's also protecting your brand and your reputation. It's ensuring that your business is running smoothly, and it prevents unnecessary downtime.
All right, so now that we have an intro a bit into the program maintenance, I'm going to start us off with a few general questions that were submitted to us for this session. So let's start with who's ultimately responsible for maintaining the food safety program?
Well, unfortunately for us QA folks, it's us. It's the QA role. However, you're only as good as the information you receive from everybody else. So you may do the upgrading and checking and changing and all that kind of thing. But if people don't tell you what's going on and communicate that there's a new process or a change in process, your program's only as good as what you know. So communication is really key to getting those updates and keeping a current program.
And that being said, how often does the food safety program need to be reviewed or updated? What would you guys recommend for that?
Program maintenance requires ongoing efforts. So that means as changes are made, you're maintaining your program, meaning reviewing and making those changes. There is a difference between the maintenance and reassessment, whereas maintenance is you're continually looking at the program. And then, of course, reassessment may happen, a certain frequency. So, what is important when you are maintaining your program is that you're following your written food safety maintenance's procedure. With reassessment, it's typically at minimum at least once a year. This is going to be dependent upon your standard. So, for example, if you have a Safe Food for Canadian license in place and you're following CFIA's regulatory requirements, then at least once a year, you're required to reassess your program. So that's looking at the program in full. Whereas maintenance is if something changes before reassessment, you make the change right then and there. BRC, just so everybody is aware, they also say at least once a year, but it must be broken out 4 times throughout that year. So it's really important for you to understand the standard that you're following and what the maintenance versus reassessment requirements are.
So is there any reason why somebody may need to maintain or reassess their program outside of this once a year or 4 times a year schedule?
Well, it would, if you're a new QA in a operation, like you've just started a new job somewhere, so that automatically triggers a reassessment. Not only is it a good review of a food safety program, so you get familiar with the whole environment at your new operation that you're starting, or the new role you're in. And the other thing is if you get promoted from within in a QA role, you need to reassess that program and get familiar with the whole thing. So those would be good good examples. The other one would be is if there's a new product or process introduced, or even I guess if you're going to start a new standard, you're currently in Safe Food for Canadians and you want to meet GFSI standard, then you definitely would want to take a look at your program and kind of do like your own little internal gap assessment and see where you're meeting and see where you're not meeting and make those changes.
Is there a specific process for maintaining the program? Is there a specific set of sequence we need to follow, or how does that work?
So program maintenance should be happening as required and conducted as per your business's written maintenance program. So, for example, if changes are made to any of the following sections, let's say it's sanitation, pest control, maintenance or calibration, waste management, allergen management, or your recall, you must review and update your program. So this means that you're going to be updating any affected SOPs, policies. You're going to update your document register. Some call it a master of documents. It also means that you're going to be filling out that change log, also known as the amendment log. And maybe you're also going to have to fill out that reassessment checklist too, if it makes sense for you to do so. So again, your maintenance should be happening as per the written maintenance program that you have in place as part of your food safety program. So most businesses do use pre-existing templates from the standards that they are following, and these are available online. So SQF offers templates. You can go online and get those. BRC. The CFIA's regulatory has something called maintenance of operations. You can use that as a template or a guide. However, if you're following multiple standards, then you can create or customize your own internal audit / reassessment checklist. Just remember that as you maintain your program, it's important to follow the written program maintenance procedure and document all those changes that are being made. And then, of course, when there are changes being made, you need to train relevant staff on those changes. Don't forget to remove any obsolete policies or procedures. You do not want your staff following outdated policies or procedures.
Wonderful. We actually have a fact sheet here in our quality and food safety resources. So it's titled Internal Audit. So I'm just going to pop the link here in the chat for anyone who's interested, and that will give you a little more insight onto those internal audits. Another question we have here is, how do you maintain one cohesive food safety program that simultaneously satisfies your CFIA, your BRCGS, your MSC, your SMETA requirements? So if you're running more than one program where you need to meet more than one certification or regulatory standard, how can we go about maintaining all these different programs that we might need to implement if we have more than one?
This is a great question. Many people think they need to be creating and running multiple food safety programs. That is not the case. When you implement these programs to meet specific requirements, you're going to build them so that they can incorporate all the standards that is required by your food business. So as you're reviewing your program, you should have copies of each of those standards, whether it's a CFIA's regulatory requirements, the BRC, the MSC, and so on. So for example, if you are reviewing the traceability section and you have specific requirements to meet for CFIA, BRC, MSC, you simply read your written program, look at the standard that you're following to see if what you have written is meeting each of their requirements. So please know that you're not running multiple programs. You're not going to have a CFIA food safety program and a BRC program. Some of them are going to be a little bit separate, like your MSC, that is very specific to chain of custody and traceability and so on. Many of our clients, what they do is they have cheat sheets. So they'll use their document register, and then by each of those sections, they might put, say, CFIA, BRC, and let's say they have MSC as well. And they know that for CFIA, it's going to be element 3. So they'll put under CFIA traceability 3.0. It's the traceability section for BRCGS is 7.1, and training. And the training section for MSC is 5.1. So when they're going through an audit or they're maintaining their program, they can simply look there and say, okay, traceability to meet, training program to meet CFIA is element 3. I'm going to look here, make sure it matches up. For the BRC, it's 7.1, make sure it matches up, and 5.1. And then if there are some gaps, that's when you can make the changes. So these little cheat sheets really do help you navigate during your own maintenance and reassessment, as well as going through audits or inspections.
I'm going to piggyback on this a little bit. The other kind of life hack that I had a client do is they hyperlink to those documents. So when they go into that document register and they're going through, it's stressful having an audit. I mean, you want the auditor in and out as quick as possible. You want to look like you have things together. So you could hyperlink to those documents and then just go into your document register, have that as your map, and then click them when they ask for certain things, and then you can bring them up really quickly. So the only thing that with do a combined system that you're going to have to do a little bit of prep work on is to have that internal audit or your reassessment plan. You're probably going to have something that's all somewhat combined so you can get through it in one go. So it might take you a little bit longer to get your template sorted out, but yeah.
Definitely some great tips there for simplifying. So, are there any templates available for reassessing these food safety programs that would make it easier?
There are some, and like Shelley mentioned, a lot of the GFSI standards have internal audit or gap assessment type templates on their websites you can get. We do have a maintenance and reassessment form for CFIA on our website that Cheryl can link in afterwards or send it out afterwards. It's in our Safe Food for Canadians General Guide downloadable forms section on our website and on the Academy. So yeah, take a look at that. You can modify it. Most of the templates you're going to have to modify it. It may not, be aspects that are probably not applicable or whatever to what you do, or you have to add a few things on, but it does give you a good starting point.
Another question here. So, should every section of the food safety program be reviewed, or how does that work? Can I just do 1 or 2 now, or?
So as previously mentioned, as soon as a change happens, you want to review that. So if you know that you're bringing in a new product and you're going to need new equipment, it's time to look at that process and update your procedures, or you may have to create a new procedure based on that new product or that new processing line. Keep in mind, in terms of reassessment, yes, absolutely, at least annually, all the sections of your food safety program must be reviewed in full. So some examples that I already mentioned: the sanitation, the pest control, recall program, traceability, maintenance and calibration, all of those have to be reviewed at least once a year. The review definitely has to be documented using a reassessment checklist or an internal audit checklist, because if you don't write down that you did it, you didn't do it, right? So remember, say what you do what you say, and prove it. So the checklist not only keeps you on task, but it ensures that you did not miss anything. And also it serves as the proof. So when the auditor or the inspector comes in and says, can you show me that you did do your internal audit or reassessment? You can say, yes, absolutely. Here you go.
Very important to have the proof for those internal audits. So if we need to review every section of our food safety program, do certain sections require more reviews or more attention?
Yeah, we find that mostly it's sanitation, employee hygiene for some reason changes quite a bit throughout the year. Maintenance might, supplier approval might, especially if you're bringing in new products, or you're in a growth stage of your business, and they're bringing in new products, new equipment, that kind of thing. You're going to see those things change more frequently. So those are the ones. Those are also the ones that I find that have the most deficiencies when people go back and reassess. They're not, your sanitation's changed, but you didn't know, and things have changed on the floor, or they tweaked something to make it better, and your program doesn't adequately describe it. So, that's something to watch out for. Usually those are the first ones I might hit, because they're the ones that are probably going to need the most changes. So, yeah.
So if I know the program is scheduled to be reassessed next week, but I made some changes today, do I really need to make the changes now? Is our next question.
That's a good question. Yes, every food business should strive to follow the golden rule. And the golden rule is be audit ready each and every day. So as most of you are aware, some of these audits that, we had in a question earlier, MSC, the BRCs, CFIA, you do know when they're coming, but there are these third-party certification audits that they're unannounced. So if an auditor shows up and you are not doing what is written down, you are going to take a nonconformance. So why would you not just maintain and make those changes as soon as you know they've occurred, so that you're not fixing a nonconformance, which is unnecessary work, because you were proactive and you did it as you were going. So it is best to address those changes as soon as possible and not be waiting, oh, well, my reassessment is next week, I'll wait until next week. Surprise, your auditor is here before next week. Also, remember, these documents, your program, are living and breathing. I always say, you don't just create a program and it's a book and you put it up on your shelf and then you blow the dust off of it because the auditor is here. You should be following these on an ongoing basis. So if you live by that golden rule, being audit ready each and every day, it's going to make managing your food safety program much more smoother for you.
Right, it is.
I'm going to add to that. If you have a program that has not come off that shelf, then it's probably not a program that you use, that you should be using, or it's just too generic and doesn't reflect what your day-to-day operations are. And either way, it's not compliant. So you should be bringing that down on a regular basis. You should be double checking. People should be looking at the SOPs, and records should be filled out, and policies should be, reviewed. So if you're not using that, then it's definitely not reflecting your operation at all, because it should be a usable document.
And there's a lot of ways to do this as well. It's not just, pulling out that SOP, but it's going to the floor and watching what people are doing on a day-to-day basis. It's asking questions, interviewing people. That's going to tell you if they're actually doing what you've written and said that you're going to do.
Yeah, I find you get the most information from the employees when you have those conversations or when you have questions for them. That's how you're really going to find out if your written program matches what they're doing.
And if you're a QA person that has not gone out to the floor, or somebody who's managing that program has not been out on the floor, doesn't have a rapport with people on the floor, then today's your day to change that, right? Because you'll know before, if you're out there all the time and you have that communication, they'll be like, oh yeah, we got to go tell, so-and-so about the change we're doing, or we come up to this issue, maybe we can fix it if we talk to them. There should be that open communication back and forth. And if you don't even go out on the floor and nobody looks at your policies and procedures, then that needs to change today.
We need the support of everyone to keep these programs current. So another question here, someone asks, what happens if there are deviations found during program maintenance? So I guess when I'm updating my program or reviewing my program, if I find something that is a deviation, what happens then?
Well, it depends if it's a food safety hazard or not. So if it is a food safety hazard or something significant, you do have to follow your corrective action procedure, and record it and go through the whole root cause analysis. Otherwise, you should fix it. If it's not a food safety risk and it's just like, they're doing something and your program doesn't reflect on it, but what they're doing is okay, then you need to go back and update your program right away and then communicate that change across the board. So, update it, confirm updates, go through and take all your old documents or any old records and go out and communicate those changes to everybody involved.
So I guess what we're saying is if it's not a direct food safety risk, we can just make the updates and continue on. But if it is a food safety risk, then we need to go the route where we're going to fill out that corrective action and do the root cause and make the corrections that way.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, I guess, right? Like if it's a staff change or something like that, and you're aware of it right now, don't wait for your review. Like Shelley said, do it right away and
Right
fix
away.
it and communicate things and update boards and whatever else you need to do. But if it's a significant change that somebody's decided to do a shortcut and they're not following the procedure, or there's a new supplier or something like that and you're missing a bunch of specs for it and they're already using the floor, then you got to follow a corrective action, right? Like you're going to have to put stuff on hold if you don't have all the information. It's possibly not safe or introduces an allergen. So it kind of depends on the situation, I guess.
Yeah, and it needs to be fixed either way. I do have a link to our resources. There is an example in our fact sheets of a corrective action report if anyone's interested. If you do need to fill out a corrective action report, we have a great example here. So I just popped the link in the chat. So I have another question here from someone. It says, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I try not to make changes to the program because every time I change something, it causes a snowball effect. So I don't like to make changes because it's going to lead to more changes. So I kind of avoid making them, I guess this person is saying.
This statement is definitely not wrong. And it is going to depend on what the change is. So I kind of gave you an example earlier. If you are making a new product and it requires new equipment, now you need to look at your maintenance procedure. If that piece of equipment requires calibration, you need to look at the calibration procedure. If the sanitation chemicals that you're currently using is not going to be compatible on this new piece of equipment, now you need to bring in a new chemical, which means you need specs for that. It also means you're adding that chemical to the approved or the master chemical list. A new product means a new product description. It also means you're looking at that other form too, that incoming materials and inputs form. You're looking at the process flow. You're changing your plant schematic. You're updating your hazard analysis or creating a new one. Traffic flows. Are there utilities required for this new product or new pieces of equipment? So for example, do you need air for that piece of equipment to work? So yes, it does create a snowball effect depending on the change being made. But let me ask you this. If you simply don't make that change now, and then all of a sudden there are other changes down the road, what do you think that means for you and your company? It's just going to get monstrous, and it's going to be harder to maintain it if you are not doing so as these changes come up. So it is in your best interest. And I know we're all busy, and some of us are small businesses. Some of you, it may be two people. You may be a harvester, and you may be a processor and a packer, and you really don't have time to do all of these things. But it is vital that you take time to maintain your program, because it's going to make it easier for you in the long run. I can promise you that.
Great. What are some common things we see in terms of program maintenance?
Well, this is almost perfect coming off what Shelley just said. They're not being maintained. People are like, no. And it's mostly because they don't know where to start, or they don't have the time, or there's not a dedicated quality professional to maintain stuff, or the know-how, or it's just a lot. It is a lot when you're doing this every day, and you're busy, especially if you have more than one shift operating at the same time, and there's just so many moving parts. Yeah, it's just not being maintained until an inspection comes in place, and then there's a bunch of non-conformances, and then panic kind of sets in, and nobody knows where to start. And you're right, it's a snowball effect, right? So sometimes one change, you're one and done. Sometimes it does affect everything. So, you got to kind of take it as it is, and update everything at once.
And it's very obvious when you walk in and you're just meeting a new client or just seeing the facility for the first time, and then all of a sudden, their program says they have metal detection. So you're like, oh, let's go and look at your metal detection procedure. And they look at you and they're like, metal detector, what are you talking about? We haven't had that for 10 years. Your program says you have a metal detector, or they have a certain product that they haven't done for years and years and years. So remember, guys, it's living, breathing. It changes as the company changes. It's not a wish list, or we did that for a customer 20 years ago. Maybe another customer will want that eventually. What are you actually doing now? Say what you do what you say, prove it.
And those checklists we mentioned, those can help out with what needs to be done. But can you maybe touch on a little bit what we need to put into those checklists? Like I know there's a list that can help us get through the program maintenance and reassessment, but what kind of things do we need to have documented in there to prove that we've gone through everything?
So basically, it's really easy for you to take that document register that you have and then chuck that into a list and add some questions or some things you want to look at. So for example, one of the things, if you have a Safe Food for Canadian license, is the Safe Food for Canadian license renewed and up to date? Go to that, take a look at it. Is it up to date? And then put, yes, it is. And here's the date. So it's that objective evidence that you're looking for. If the next section is a sanitation program, what chemicals are you currently using? Go out to the floor, take that master list of chemicals. Are these chemicals still being used by the facility? Did you bring in anything else? So you're literally making a list of all of the written procedures or policies that you have in place, and that's what's going to be part of your checklist. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Cheryl?
I believe it does. Thank you.
I'll add something to that. Physically don't just say yep and check it off.
Yeah.
People do it a lot, and especially with the CFIA license renewal. That's a common one for people to forget. They get all the emails in their inbox and they just ignore it. So for whatever reason, people get busy, things get buried. But I mean, you really need to go out and physically look. Don't get into the trap of saying, yep, we're good to go, and check it, and don't even go out and look, because that'll be the one you get caught on. That's just Murphy's Law.
And as I think Elaine mentioned earlier, going to the floor. That it's not going to lie, right? If all of a sudden you have a list of master chemicals and there's 5 on that list, but now you see 8, something's wrong there. So again, it's collecting that objective evidence. 5 chemicals listed on the master chemical list, 8 was found, put the names of those, and then you're going to have to do an investigation to figure out how did these other 3 sneak in without going through the approval. We don't have letters of guarantee for them. We don't have the spec sheets for them. We don't have the SDS sheets for them, and so on. Were people trained on how to administer and store and handle these chemicals now? What are the concentrations? Are there titrations required to check those concentrations, and so on? So yes, absolutely, you have to go to the floor.
And how long does this program maintenance normally take? So if I do decide that this is the year that I'm going to do our first program reassessment and maintenance that has been done in a long time, how much time am I looking at to get this done? How much time do I
So
need to
if you're
dedicate?
maintaining your program on an ongoing basis, it's not going to take that much time, depending on how many things are changed. So I gave you an example earlier of a new product. A new product comes in, that's a lot of things you're changing. So it's going to take a little bit more time. However, if you're bringing in a new chemical, let's say, and it's just a new chemical, so you add it to the approved supplier list, you add it to your non-food agents, and you train your staff on it, that's a bit, less cumbersome than doing all of that stuff. Now, reassessment, on the other hand, reassessment is going to take longer than doing your maintenance if you're doing it on an ongoing basis. If you have like CFIA regulatory program in place, 7 to 10 days, could take you longer depending on how many HACCP plans you have, how big your facility is, how many employees you have. SQF, 10, 12 days. BRC is going to take you probably 12 to 16 days. But again, guys, it is really facility and process and product specific. So the more things you're doing, obviously, the longer it's going to take to reassess. The bigger the facility is, the more things you have to look at, because this isn't sitting at your desk going, yeah, we're good. No. It's going through the entire facility. So if you have a lot of square footage, it's going to require you more time than if you had smaller square footage.
And that kind of ties in with one of those common things we see in terms of program maintenance too, where it looks like an internal audit has been done all in 1 or 2 days. So really
that's not possible. And anyone on this call that has been working in the industry for a while and responsible for maintaining and reassessing programs know that you cannot possibly reassess or do an internal audit in 1 or 2 days. It's just not happening. And also keep in mind, if you are building good habits, your program maintenance, it's going to become second nature. But it's taken the time, right? We have to make the time and prioritize. I understand we are all busy, and a lot of us aren't just the QA manager, where our responsibility is solely enforcing and focusing on overseeing the food safety program. It's doing a lot of other things too. I know when I worked in industry, I wasn't just a HACCP coordinator. Some days I was in that freezer and I was taking inventory. Other days I was behind that forklift wheel and I was receiving and shipping product out. Sometimes I was shunting on a truck. So depending on your facility and how many hats you're wearing, just remember, make time, prioritize your food safety program.
So that kind of ties into another question we have here. So if it takes time to do the program maintenance and reassessment, what if my senior management or my manager, or my direct supervisor, whoever is telling me I can't spend that much time on this maintenance and reassessment? It's just not time we have to do that. Is there?
Well, I would include the minute. I would start doing it as a team. It wouldn't be one person doing it. It would be you're pulling team members. The other thing you can do is if you spread it out throughout the year, it makes it more manageable. Like there's 12 months in a year. There's no reason why you couldn't do 12 things. Like to take a day a month. Like you get to your 12 days, like Shelley said, right? For BRC, take a day a month, do it quarterly, pick an off season where, you've got a bit of a lull for catch up. That's the time you look at those things. Yeah, just you have to break it up. You split it up. You can't do it last minute before an audit because you don't know when people are going to show up. You don't know when a CFIA inspector is going to show up. So, spread it out and involve the whole team, because then you'll get their knowledge too. Maybe you'll find aspects of it that aren't user friendly or improvements you can make. And again, you build that food safety culture by including everybody in it.
Is there any way to sell it to them, to say, look, I really do need all this time and all your support?
Well,
Gonna need tricks for
sometimes,
for getting
unfortunately, if you can't convince them to do it, you might have to just wait for inspectors to come on site. But cover yourself, emails, document everything, do what you can, hit the most important ones that are going to change or frequently, I don't know, like maintenance equipment in and out quite a bit. It just depends on the facility. I find sanitation does change quite a bit, and QA doesn't tend to know what the changes are because there's always a chemical supplier coming in with new stuff. They're trying to improve processes, make things go faster, that kind of thing. Yeah, I sometimes you just have to wait till you get non-conformances, but make sure you cover yourself if you have to go to that point in that relationship. But I do find if they see what's going through, see the value in it, and they have repeated really good audit scores, or no cars from CFA, or little to no cars from CFA, because nobody's perfect. That usually tells a sign of like the program's in control, and you got things under control. So
sometimes it's about making things personal too, or relevant for them. So if there's been a recent recall with a product very similar to yours, broadcasting that, or if there has been foodborne illnesses or outbreaks or fatalities, showing them that and really hitting home, sometimes that works. And Elaine, you made a good point too when you were talking about get people involved, break it up, maybe do one day a month. If it has to make sense for you too. So if in August there's a big shutdown and maintenance is going to be really busy, don't do the maintenance section in August. So keep that in mind. Your maintenance and reassessing has to work for your facility and make sense. If it doesn't, you're not going to follow it.
Absolutely. Another question here, is there training available on program maintenance?
There are many courses available that can help with program maintenance. There are consultants out there if you need assistance with maintenance. Prenia offers internal audit training. There's lots of other companies out there that offer these training. The best place to start, though, honestly, is knowing your standard or your program you have in place. So one of the questions earlier was, how do I maintain a cohesive food safety program if I have CFIA, if I have BRCGS, if I have MSC, and if I have those ethical audits and all of these other things? So learning each of those, know that MSC inside out, know the BRCGS inside and out, know CFIA, know the ethical audits, and know your program. Write your program so that it's meeting all of these and really know it. And when you have any questions asked of you, you're able to justify those because you are going to know your program, your process, and your facility better than any auditor or any inspector or any consultant. Or you should, at least.
Absolutely. There's a couple of questions here that might not quite be related to program maintenance, but they kind of might sort of fit in. So if we can answer these, if not, we will point them in another direction. But the first one is how to get a permit to supply food. So I'm going to just say this kind of depends on many things. So what's your product, your commodity, your process, where you're manufacturing the food, where are you going to sell it at, that kind of thing. So this one might be best to reach out to info@perenne.ca. So if you can send your question there, we can get you in touch with someone who can provide more detailed answers based on the questions they would need to ask you in order to answer that question. And then there's a similar one that says, what food safety program certification do I need for my business? So this one's very similar. It depends on your business, your commodity, all that stuff. So again, if you could contact the info@perenne.ca, we can get someone in contact with you who can ask you some questions to provide more information. And there's another one about how can I import vegetables and fruits into Nova Scotia. So again, if you could reach out to us at info@perenne.ca, we can provide you some more details on that.
So I'm just going to say something really quickly. When it comes to having a Safe Food for Canadian license, there's 3 scopes. Okay, so remember this. If you plan to sell food outside of your province, that means interprovincial, you need to have Safe Food for Canadian license. If you are importing, you need to have a Safe Food for Canadian license. If you are exporting, you need to have a Safe Food for Canadian license. So that's going to be federal, that's CFIA. If you are staying within the province, your own province, then it's going to be specific to your province. So for Nova Scotia, it would be the provincial Nova Scotia regs. It could even be a food establishment permit, depending on what you're doing. If it's meat and you're processing and slaughtering, then that's what you would need. So this is why we can't really answer without knowing more. And the technical advice is free. So the email Cheryl gave you, the info@perenne.ca, you can email us, you can give us a call. Any of these questions are free for us to answer and have a conversation with you.
Oh, and I also put, I'm going backwards here, I put the link to our internal auditor skills training in the chat for anyone who's interested as well. That's a great course. And we do have a link here to a previous Ask Us Anything. It touches on food safety program development. So it kind of touches on what your customers are asking of you. So if you wanted to go back and check that one out too, it might give you some insight about these other questions here. I'll just copy that into the chat. It's not going to work. I'll have to figure it out. Oh, there it goes. I think I just did it 6 times, but hold on a sec here. I'll be a pro soon. All right, there you go. All right, so I'm at the end of the questions that were previously submitted during registration. If anyone has any questions now, we can definitely address those if you want to pop them in the chat before we take off. But I just have some other information here to share with you while you're thinking on your questions.
So as Shelley mentioned, and I think Cheryl did too, we have free technical advice. So please reach out, info@perenne.ca, give us a call. Yeah, we can help you get unstuck, or even just let you know if you're doing the right thing. You want to make sure that you do your program maintenance in a manageable way. So we can tell you if what you're trying to do, or talk you through any challenges you're having with the program maintenance. Maybe you're overthinking it. Sometimes that happens. So it's better to reach out than sit there and kind of stress about it.
Okay, so if you look up our learning under the Quality and Food Safety Department, you will see a little roster of training sessions that we are offering. There is developing your internal auditing skills coming up November 17th and 18th. This is virtual, instructor led. It is a half day. So it means you can be sitting at home or in the comfort of your own facility. And it's from 9 a.m. to 12:30 for 2 days. So it's just a half a day for 2 days. This goes right alongside of the maintenance conversation we had today, as well as doing your reassessment. November 27th, we have senior management training. So for those of you who said, management doesn't give us the time that we need to do certain activities, this is a good little push. Let them know that we offer this training. It's from 9 a.m. to 11:30. And then we have another free Ask Us Anything webinar coming up February the 5th. It's on hiring, onboarding, and training quality assurance professionals. Stay tuned as our 2026 training roster will be posted very shortly. We also have online through the Prenia Academy our food safety fundamentals. So there are 7 different food safety fundamental courses. These are basically plug and plays. They're not instructor led. You can take them at your own time. You can pause them, come back. There's little quizzes incorporated. So the first one is introductory skills for creating your food safety program. The second one is conditions respecting establishments and conveyance and equipment. The third is hygiene, competency, sanitation, pest control, and non-food agents. The fourth one is unloading, loading, and storing. The fifth one is creating your product-specific HACCP plan. The sixth one is product traceability and recall. And the seventh is allergens, food additives, and foreign material. So if you're interested in that, you can check out the Prenia Academy and take those as well.
All right, so we do have some funding opportunities available. So if anyone needs a more hands-on option, we also have affordable services to meet your budget, as well as funding that you may qualify to help out with the cost. So we right now open is the local supplier food safety support program. It helps Nova Scotia food and beverage producers successfully achieve and maintain food safety requirements for retailers, food service companies, institutions, or to simply adjust their food safety program to meet emerging food safety requirements or new markets. We also have for seafood companies, the Seafood Accelerator Program. So this program provides advice, resources, and funding to help Nova Scotia-based seafood businesses move to the next level. The 2 main program components for the Seafood Accelerator Program are market access, so quality and food safety and product development. And this program is funded by the Nova Scotia Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. And for more information on these and if there's any other upcoming funding opportunities, you will find them on our website under www.prenia.ca/programs. So you can keep checking back there as well for any updates.
So before we end, I just want to strongly encourage all of you on the webinar today. If there are any Ask Us Anything webinars that you would like a specific topic on, please reach out to us and we will, create these Ask Us Anything so that they are tailored and relevant for you and your food business.
Great. Thank you, Elaine and Shelley. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A or the chat. So I guess we'll wrap it up and say thanks for everyone for joining us this afternoon for our Ask Us Anything.